Why play Charlie? Well, she's incredibly versatile, she has great game control, and her super can be a game saver. However, it's hard to hit enemies from a long distance, you need to have good positioning, and worst of all, she is French! Charlie's normal attack is her yo-yo. It has 8.33 tiles range, and it does 1600 damage per hit. When you use her normal attack, she throws the yo-yo, and from there, two things can happen. It can either reach its max range, which then makes the yo-yo come back to Charlie, or the yo-yo can hit either an enemy, a showdown box, or any object like a wall. This makes the yo-yo come back to Charlie, which means you'll be able to shoot it sooner. Her normal attack is unique because it has only one ammo and it recharges when the yo-yo comes back to her. The way her yo-yo works is uniquely evil, however. Her DPS is very high when you're right next to the target, however this means you need to get close to the target in order to do a lot of damage quickly, instead of having to chip them down from a distance. The difference between being close to your targets and being at max distance is considerable, as you can see from this example. So you'd think that a solution to this problem would be to just get close, lol. But if you thought that, you probably are retarded. So as I was saying, you can't just approach your enemies on all of the maps because you just get obliterated by the opponents. Well, that's in my games anyways. I bet your 300 trophies ass can just spam auto him and still win. This problem, however, is not as big as you might think. Being next to your enemies to do a lot of damage is good if the enemy doesn't have the ability to do more damage when up close. However, brawlers like Bull or Primo require you to keep your distance, so you wouldn't want to get near them anyway. So this damage problem is only applicable when you are fighting against a brawler which outranges you, which to be fair is a lot of them, but there is a solution to all this. Her super and also one of her gadgets in a way. But before we get there, I have one more thing to tell you about her normal attack. When the yo-yo is coming back to you, it's still able to hit enemies. You can use this to your advantage in a couple ways. If you miss the initial shot, you can position yourself in a way so that the yo-yo can hit the target on its way back. Another trick with positioning is that you can hit brawlers behind the walls if you throw a yo-yo and quickly go to the opposite of them on the other side of the wall. This trick isn't too reliable since the yo-yo comes back too quickly, but in some cases it could work. Charlie's super is called Cocoon. She fires a bundle of hair that upon hitting an enemy brawler traps them in a cocoon. The super ignores pets and spawnables, and the projectile will simply pass through them. The cocoon has 8400 HP and decays by 20 seconds of its health until it's destroyed, lasting for up to 5 seconds if it doesn't take any damage. While the enemy brawler is trapped, they can move, heal, or use the main attack, super, gadgets, or hypercharges. And in gem grab, they will drop any gems they have upon hit. Brawlers cannot reload while in the cocoon, but brawlers with auto-charging supers such as Darrow, Edgar, Kit, or Chuck can charge their supers. Brawlers such as Gordelius, Buzz, Lily, or Shade can also passively charge their supers if a cocooned enemy brawler is within a radius of them due to their traits. Hitting the super doesn't give her any charge for it, however each normal attack charges the super by 16%, so it would take you 6 hits to charge it fully. Her super is very good for game control. It has many uses, but these are the situations in which you'd use her super the most. You can use it to get an enemy brawler out of a fight. As you can see in this example, me and the Otis were fighting these Ruffs and Charlie. I didn't want to risk any of us dying, so it was a no-brainer for me to use my super and hit one of them. I was trying to get Ruffs, and luckily I managed to hit him. Because of the super, me and the Otis were able to rush the Charlie and kill her, and then, when the cocoon expired, we took the Ruffs down too. In the same game, Charlie made a huge mistake with her super. She cocooned me while she was alone with me. This was a terrible idea since my two teammates were right next to me, so she'd have to wait for the cocoon to expire in order to kill me. Instead, she decided to rush my two teammates, which resulted in her being killed. The correct thing to do was not to use the super, but even after she did, she could still run away from all three of us, which would have saved her life. But alas, I made this guy too late and she was not educated on Charlie-matics. Her other use for her super is to stop enemies from doing objectives. You wanna score a brawl ball? Cocoon. You captured the point? Cocoon. You have all the gems? Not anymore. As you can see here, this one was about to score, but I managed to get my super on time and completely denied them in the points. In the same game, I managed to cocoon this Kenji just in time, which helped my teammate to secure the ball without a problem, and score. In hot zone, it's not a bad idea to cocoon the person on the point, but only if there's nobody else there. So there's only one brawler on the point, using your super on him would not be a waste. You will stop them from getting progress on the point, safely reach the circle and get rid of one person. This would mean that the enemy team would have to 2v3 or wait for their teammate to respawn, which gives you capture percentage. And lastly, if an enemy is carrying a lot of gems near you, you can cocoon them, which results in them dropping all their gems, so your team can easily pick them up off the ground. Lastly, you can use her super to save yourself or a teammate. If a primo jumps on you, for example, you can cocoon him and haul ass out of there. Then, you can just chip him down from a distance when he gets out of the cocoon. You can also save a teammate if a primo jumps on them, but since all randoms are bad, you're probably better off saving your super for yourself. Her hypercharge is called Pestilence. It charges after 10 hits, so about a super and a half. When activated, it grants the following effects: plus 26% movement speed, plus 25% damage bonus, and plus 5% shield. And her super now summons 3 spiders in a triangular formation around the cocoon that behave identically to those of her spider gadget. The spiders will spawn even if Charlie misses her super. This hypercharge is a bit underwhelming, so most of the time you probably just use it for the staff buffs rather for the effects, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Not every hypercharge can be a banger like my glorious Queen Mandy. The spiders aren't all that bad, however. They can be somewhat annoying if you spawn them next to a Piper or something, but most of the time they won't make a huge difference. Charlie has 7000 HP and her movement speed is normal. She's good at doing a lot of things, but her damage isn't a lot, which makes people think she's weak, which she definitely is not. Charlie's first star power is called Digestive. What it does is that when an enemy brawler gets hit by Charlie's super, they lose 25% of their remaining health. This basically means that the higher HP the target has, the more damage the super will do. You usually won't use the super for damage, so this star power is mostly there just for a little help it provides, but it's still better than the other star power, which is hilarious in my opinion. Her second star power is called Slimy. It leaves a puddle of slime on the ground that follows the super travel's path. The puddles last for 5 seconds each and slows enemies down. To be fair, the slow is very generous, but the puddle itself is very thin, so they can easily leave it. This star power almost never has any game impact, so 99% of the time you get more value from the Digestive star power, even though it's not that great either. Now, her star powers really aren't that great, but her gadgets is where it's at. Her first star gadget is called Spiders, and it spawns spiders. When Charlie uses this gadget, she summons 3 spiders in a triangular formation around her that follow and attack the closest enemies. They have 1400 health each, deal 800 damage within a range of 2 tiles every second, and decay by 20% of their health until they're destroyed, lasting for up to 5 seconds if they don't take any damage. If she uses her hypercharge to spawn more spiders, or use the gadget after using her hypercharge, the previous spiders would despawn, so this essentially means she can only have 1 instance of 3 spiders at a time. So it's not a good idea to despawn them by using the gadget right after the hypercharge or vice versa. This gadget is very good for a few reasons. It acts like a shield, it's good for burst damage, and it can scout out enemies for you. Firstly, let's discuss the first reason. This gadget can shield you from any enemy attacks. In fact, it does its job incredibly well if you don't use it poorly. Characters like Piper or Surge are not a problem for you if you run this gadget, since all you have to do is just use it and approach them. The 3 spiders will run in front of you and they will be forced to kill them first in order to be able to damage you. This makes them very easy to kill unless they have their super, of course, so watch out for that. Later in this guide I will discuss which characters you can and cannot kill with the use of this gadget. The next use for it is its good burst damage. What you can do is walk up to the center of the cocoon and wait until its HP is 1680. As soon as it does, you pop your gadget and the spiders will immediately dish out tons of damage. Her final use of this gadget is to scout for enemies. If you're playing in a map with a lot of bushes and you suspect that the enemy is hiding in one, you can pop the gadget and the spiders will target the nearest enemy so you can check the bushes without being in any real danger yourself. Her second gadget is called Personal Space. Activating this gadget causes Charlie to cocoon herself, which behaves identically to that of her super. When used, she heals for 50% of her maximum health. This gadget is pretty underwhelming. If you use it not in the right place and not in the right time, you will be severely dispositioned and the enemies will be able to get the easiest kill in their lives. If you look at how this gadget behaves, it basically incapacitates you for around 6 seconds to heal 50% of your max HP. For these 6 seconds, you could easily use the spider gadget to escape from a situation since the spiders will take the hits for you. There are rare situations in which using this gadget in the middle of battle could be useful, however, but it takes a lot of skill to use. Since this gadget heals you, and more importantly acts like a shield for you, you could easily use it to bait out abilities. For example, if there's a Shelly who has her super, you could intentionally go near her to make the Shelly player activate a neural reaction for the first time in their lives and think, I should blast that bitch! And in that moment, BAM! you're a gadget, and she completely wastes her ult. This is very useful, but it's also that situational, and it takes a fair bit of timing and precision to pull off. Charlie has no special gears. Her best builds may vary a bit depending on what you want to play, but overall it's almost the same. You want to put the digestive star power in the spider's gadgets. For gears, I like to run the shield gear and the damage gear, but the cooldown gear is also pretty good. The biggest counter for Charlie are the characters that can shoot multiple bullets and have a fast reload speed. Characters who can completely ignore your spiders, such as throwers and Karo, are also a great threat. However, other characters who shoot one ammo and have a slow reload speed, like Piper and Mandy, are not a problem for you, if you have a brain that is. Her best game modes are Gem Grab and Hot Zone by far. She's also pretty good at Brobo, but there probably are better picks for that game mode than her. She can also be used in Showdown to cheese for easy trophies, but I have no idea if it's still doable or not. But it was pretty funny to lose to someone who is just tanking and reviving through the poison. In the Gem Grab game mode, Charlie is a real menace. She can easily clutch up the game if the enemy team isn't paying enough attention. When you use your super on a brawler, they drop their gems. Your team can easily take an advantage from that and scoop the gems quickly before the enemy gets out of the cocoon. She can also punish anyone trying to go for the gem spawner by using her super on them, and your whole team can just target the enemy when they come out of the cocoon. You can control the flow of the game with a couple of good supers, so don't forget, they should be scared of you, not you of them. On Hot Zone, Charlie performs very well too. In this game mode, if you're super the person on the hot zone, they won't gain any progress. So if they're the only one there, you can make a huge play by cocooning the enemy to deny them progress. This could be useful if you're both around 90%, but they get ticks faster. If you have no time to kill the enemy, just super them and they won't be able to do anything. If they're alone, that is. But in that case, you can easily cocoon one of the enemies on the point, turning a 2v2 or a 3v3 into a favorable matchup for you. Because they have to either A, break the cocoon and waste their ammo, or B, get decimated by you since you outnumber them. When doing this strategy, it's better to choose a target who uses ammo less often and cocoon them when their teammates have used all their ammo, so they won't be able to break them out or fight back. Now, this is the part of the video where I talk about topics surrounding the channel. Thank you so much for 1500 subscribers. I couldn't have reached this milestone without you guys. You're absolute goats. Thank you everyone for the kind comments. I read all of them and they really brighten my day. And finally, thank you my thumbnail artist. You're an absolute legend for putting out these amazing thumbnails. Now, let's get back into the video. Let's talk about a bunch of tips and tricks for Charlie. Thankfully, there are not that many, since the character doesn't have a lot of depth, but they're pretty useful. Charlie can shoot the bow without consuming ammo. This is very good because it means you can start attacking people right after you have kicked the bow. You don't even need to have one ammo to kick it, you can just do it whenever you want. Another tip for bow is using your super to cocoon an enemy and make them lose collision, so the bow goes right through them. You can use this to your advantage by kicking the bow at the go immediately after using your super on the brawler standing in the way, or having a friend approach the go with the bow, and you can just super the person in the way so your teammates can shoot right through them. You can burst out a lot of brawlers in the game using the super and gadget combo. As you can see here, I completely burst out the Shelly using the combo, but it's pretty risky to do any of this if the enemy's teammates come to the rescue. You can use your cocoon to cancel any brawler's super. If a bull comes running at you, just cocoon. A Frank wants to stun your team? Think again, loser. The possibilities are limitless. And finally, I'm on my last tip for this character. It's been a pretty long video, so thankfully Chart doesn't have that much depth as other characters, so it's hard to find any good tips to give. Do not, I repeat, do not use your super or cocoon gadget in the vicinity of a penny. She can splash off your cocoons and just absolutely decimate whatever is behind it. That's it for now, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment and subscribe, not that it does anything, but you can still do it. Or don't, I don't care, I'm on some nonchalant shit. Comment what brawler you want to see next, even though it won't really matter since my mind is made up on what the next guide will be on. But for now, I'll be seeing you later.